Let me share the screen. Oh no, and I know I need to do something. I need to share also the sound because at some point I will have a little video to share with you guys. Okay. So let me know if you can see the screen. Is it working now? Appearing? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fine? Cool. Good. So design thinking for innovation. We come to the week 4. That's the last week already. It went flying, really. I don't know if it's because it's June and then, summer is coming. I don't know, but I thought it went super, super fast, our journey. We are coming to the last one. And we will have some activity where I would need you to have a sheet of paper and a pen or marker. Could you get that? Do you have this on your desk?
Yes.
Do you need to go in the kitchen, grab something, or in the room of your child, whatever? Because I know that we are not writing so much anymore in the modern life. But try to get a sheet of paper and a pen or marker. Is it okay? Oh, I see Anders is ready. Okay, so Anders, you have to do it too. Then now that you're equipped, I'm expecting you are doing the activity just like everybody else.
Then I can't support you with the breakouts and
Yeah,
screenshots
that's
anymore.
right. You cannot do everything, right? Good. Let's go for a check-in like always. To finish the journey, we've chosen a kind of a light check-in, which is a checking Beyonce. So, which is the Beyonce picture number which best represent how you enter this last session and why? So you can answer in the chat, you can open your mic, tell me which number you've chosen and why you've chosen that number. Josipa, number 8. Why number 8?
I'm in a very chilled mood this week. So I think this corresponds the best. I don't know if it's the weather or something, but I'm like very not in my hyper mode like usual.
Uh-huh.
I think something's happening with the air pressure.
Cool. Mateus has chosen the number 4 because I'm curious about the end. Yeah. Maria is also number 4. Why have you chosen number 4, Maria?
Kind of similar to Matthias. Excited for today, but also curious and maybe a little bit worried that I will like do this in practice in the future
Mm-hmm.
or how to do it in the future.
Oh, thanks. Lorena, number 3. Tell us, Lorena, why? Why the number
Oh,
3?
yeah, I'm also curious about how this will end, and I enjoyed it very much. Here I am in Mexico City, and we are just preparing for the opening ceremony of the World Cup. So as I am taking the session, I hear like helicopters around my house, and I don't know if I will be able to get out. We have a lot of uncertainty here in Mexico right now.
Okay, but the popcorn is ready. The
Yep.
popcorn is ready
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
World Cup. Cool. Great. Camila is number 1, just coming out of 1 week with 6 children and looking forward to learn something now. Cool. So good vibe, good vibe. It's getting better. Who's next? Simon is number 3, curious and open, ready to explore and see where this final session takes me. Yeah, popcorn ready too. I think I'm a mix between number 5 and number 4. Number 4 because I'm flying to Paris on Saturday, so I'm very excited to see a lot of people I've not seen for many years. Number 5 because I have so many things to finish before going, even if I'm working in the next weeks, but like the agenda is pretty crazy. So a mix of both. Who's next? Kareli, Camille, Kareli. 1, happy for the opportunity to learn and eager to apply this soon. Cool. Who's missing? So Camille, Mariana,
Ida.
Ida. Which is your Beyonce? Camille, I would say number 3 for the same reason stated above. Yeah. Ida, number 5, because I have so much going on right now. Yeah, I feel you, Ida. Just the same. Life is crazy sometimes, right? Mari, which one do you choose? Mari's like this. I'm coming. No, we cannot hear you. Not working. Okay. She just disappeared. Okay, I will move forward when she's coming back. She's putting her checking in the chat if she's remembering the pictures of Beyonce. So going for a short summary of what we've been through together and what is our moment in this 4th and last session. So we are following this double diamond, which is pretty much guiding us through the design thinking process. We've started falling in love with the problem. Yeah, we know that as human beings, we have the tendency, the temptation to jump into solution. This is what we've been made for, guys. We are made for solutions. But we've tried to spend some time in the problem space to really identify, what's the problem? Try to empathize with our user, with the people we want to, solve that problem. What's really the problem? What's the point? We've been seeing like frameworks like jobs to be done. Yeah? How do we identify the different jobs of this person to try to get insight about the real problem? We've been talking about other tools like interviewing, etc. So we really stayed a big time in this research and discover phase. And we've tried to synthesize that phase when we've been talking about how might we. Yeah? The how might we methodology helps you transform the problem space into a clear opportunity, through that sentence of the how might we, so that you can enter into the solution space with a clear trigger, okay, with a clear problem definition. Then last week, we've entered into the solution space when we said, okay, we have an how might we, how do we start creating, ideating on possible solutions? And again, there is not just one solution. It's a variety of solutions possible. You've made the crazy 8, to try different crazy stuff. And we've told you that you can do this with your team when you ideate on a problem, like how do you take advantage of this collective intelligence, and how do you, bring people together to diverge with a lot of ideas so that afterwards you can, kind of prioritize and define what's the best solution. So this is what we've been doing up to now. So we are coming to this 4th session, and now we are more in the last part of this diamond where we need to close again. Yeah, we need to converge again to having like one solution. And how do we test this? How do we validate that this solution is the good one? Because again, sometimes we have great ideas, we think it's amazing, but is it really? How can you discover that? So this is exactly what we'll be discussing today. I want to bring here this approach, this systemic design approach from the Beyond Net Zero, which we found pretty interesting because you can see in the middle of this drawing, you can see that you have the double diamond. No? You have the explore the problem, you have to reframe the problem when you are converging again. Then you have creating solution, you open, you diverge, and then you catalyze, you close again. But you see that around these 2 diamonds, they've put some elements like connection and relationships, leadership and storytelling, orientation and vision setting, because of course you have to have a clear orientation and a clear vision when you start to explore problems. And then when you catalyze, you need to be able to continue the journey. So they have defined in this framework 4 abilities, 4 skills that people working and organizing innovation should develop. It's not just knowing the frameworks, it's not just knowing the step-by-step of design thinking, it's much more than that. And we see here, there are 4 different elements. Now, so there is the thing about leader and storyteller, because when you will define a solution, you have to be able to tell a great story about it. You have to convince people, you have to get the buy-in, from all other levels that this is the right solution. So you have to develop the skill of telling stories. You have to be a connector, a convener, because along this process with these different frameworks we've been seeing together, there is one thing which is essential, which is this collective intelligence. So you have to bring people together. You have to bring people together who have different backgrounds, people who have different experiences from different departments, who will be able to connect the dots, to ideate in a more like diverging way. Because if it's just you alone or you and 2-3 people of your team, you will not get the same result. So this also connector and convener is super important. Here you have the ability of designer and maker, because even when you get a great solution, when you want to make things happen, and this is what we'll be discussing today, you have to do things. You have to transform this solution, this idea, into something palpable, into something that people can understand. Okay? So this maker mindset will be essential in this last part of the process. And then we have the part of system thinker. And the part of system thinker is when you are able to see how things are interconnecting, having the bigger picture, okay? Being able to zoom into the micro, but also get some distance and see the macro, see, across the silos. This is important during the journey, but this is also very important at the final. So this is the element I want to be working with you in this first part of the session. And then I will explain you how this connects to the rest of the design thinking journey. So as I was telling you, I want to make a little activity right now where you need pen and paper. Everybody has, yes, a page? White page, or can be like some lines, like a pen. And I want you to make some practice now individually, and then we'll open some discussion. So the challenge is the following. Your task right now is, with your paper and pen, please draw the process of how to make a toast in maximum 6 steps. Okay? So I give you 3 minutes right now, pen and paper, draw the process of how to make a toast. Very important that you have to draw it. Okay? I don't want to see any written words on that paper. It's just drawing. Okay? Don't stress yourself. You will not be judged on the quality of your drawings. Okay? So relax, that's fine. Just try to draw the 6 steps, maximum 6 steps on how to make a toast. Okay? Let's go. 3 minutes. I will put a timer here on my watch. In the way you understand how to make toast. So pen and paper, I want you to draw the 6 steps maximum on how to make toast on your paper. Thirty seconds left. Okay, has everyone managed to do a toast on paper? Is it fine? Yes? Okay. So now I would like to invite perhaps 3 persons, one after the other, to share, like on the screen, the drawing and explain quickly, like in 1 minute, what are the different steps. If you want to share yours, please deactivate the background because the background will, we'll understand that the page and the background is the same stuff. So we would not really see it. So you have to deactivate the blurred background, then show it on the screen. Stay very put because Anders will try to get a print shot from your drawing so that we can have a look to the different elements afterwards. So who wants to start? Who wants to jump in? Maria?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
I can start.
I will pin you here on the screen so that everybody sees you very well. So approach, yeah, don't move. Just wait so that Anders can take the shot. Anders, let us know when it's okay.
All
It's fine?
good?
Yeah. So tell us, Maria, about the steps. Show them on the side and then explain us what are the different steps.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure it's mirrored for me, but maybe you see it in the right
No, it's okay
direction.
for us. It's okay.
Okay, good. So the first step I thought was to grab a piece of bread from the bag. Probably it should have been bring a bag of bread before, but now it's grab a piece of bread, bring the toasting machine and plug it in, put the bread in the toasting machine, push down the button, wait for a little time, and then you have a toast.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Perfect.
Thanks.
Love it. Who's next? Who wants to share? Mateus?
Mine is like this. I
Yeah.
don't have a
So
little
come a
border.
little bit nearer from the screen, a little bit nearer. Yeah, don't move. Anders will make the print. Okay, Anders, it's fine?
All good.
Yes,
Good.
all good. Explain us, Mateus, what are the steps?
I get the bread, I get the toast, but I add the butter and with butter on the toast. So that's it.
Okay, so you put the butter and then you put it in the toaster.
Yes,
That's interesting. Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
a little butter. Not
A
that much.
little. Okay, just a little bit. Cool. Who's next? Don't be shy, guys. Here we go. Kareli,
Okay.
can you try to
Yes.
take the background, the blurred background away? Because
I
if
think
not,
when-
he will hide also the page. He's nasty.
I'm looking for what is it?
You can click on the
I see.
little arrow, which is the side from video. And then normally you have activate or deactivate my blurred background. Do you see it?
No,
In the bottom, you have
I don't
one
use too
icon.
much. What?
You have
The-
one icon for
but
the
the share
microphone,
one?
and then you
The
have
share one?
another. No, you have an icon
no,
for the
in the
video.
video. Yes.
See?
No,
The
okay.
little
I see it.
arrow, and if you
It's
click on
okay?
it, you can deactivate.
Yeah, I
the blurred.
deactivate it. Can you see it?
I don't know. It
Yes.
seems to me blurred,
No?
but
It's
It's
still blurry, but
blur.
maybe there's also a portrait or studio setting on your camera.
okay.
No,
Try
no.
it perhaps.
I
Try to put it
deactivate.
on your
Let me.
in
Can you
front
see
of
it?
you. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah. Make it
okay.
in front of your
It's-
face. In front of your
Mm.
face. No.
No.
No. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like this. Here?
Well,
Okay.
yes. Don't
No?
move.
A
Don't move.
little?
Don't move. It's a
Okay.
It's great.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay.
Tell us. So what's the steps?
Okay. The first step is like Maria, is you have to grab the bread from the back, and then you have to plug in the toaster, and then you have to pull down the bottom,
Mhm.
and then you have to grab a plate and put the toast on the plate.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. One more person, perhaps? Who would do it?
I can, but can I
Lorena?
share my screen?
Oh, yes, if you want. Oh, you've done it on the screen? Yeah, try to share your screen.
Okay, I'll try. Okay. It's a Minecraft version of Toast.
I love it.
So here first, I have my materials, the bread, the toaster. I sliced the bread, and then I inserted the bread in the toaster. Here I choose the toasting level, and I push the lever down and waited for the toast to pop up. Now toasted. And then I took it away, and I added some jam and butter.
Cool. Amazing. Thank you. Anders, have you managed to take a screenshot?
Yes.
Yes? Great. Thank you. Thank you, Lorena, for sharing. That was original. It was different. Not made by hands, but made by computer. Great. So let me share my screen again. So that I can show you guys, put like these different drawings side by side and see, like, I want to ask you, when you look at these different drawings, let me wait for the screen to appear. Okay. What do you notice? What is common? What is different? Like, what do you notice when you look at these different toast drawings, steps? You can open your mic, write in the chat.
Everybody has bread toaster.
What did you say, Mateus?
Everybody has a bread and a toaster.
Everybody had a bread and a toaster, yes. What else?
Lorena put more details. Maria put the time on.
Mm-hmm.
These are nice.
Everybody pretty much agrees on the process from the beginning to the end.
Okay. Yeah, you say pretty much. What?
Yeah,
Where do people do not agree?
I think there was someone who puts butter in early, and someone puts butter in the end.
I saw marmalade also from Lorena at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. What else? So you see, for example, some of you have put the numbers of the steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, some others not.
Okay.
For some, we see, like, for example, on the drawing on the upper corner on the left side, you see the end of the user peeking into the bag, where we don't see users on the other drawings. Some are connecting the toaster to the electricity first. Some others do not mention this. We've seen that, the butter before the toaster or the marmalade after. So, but I have to tell you guys that this is, I think, probably the first time I'm seeing such similar processes. Because I've made the activity many times, and sometimes I see people doing this in a pan, not in a toaster. I've seen people doing in an oven. I've seen people starting with the wheat. Like, how do you how do you come to the very first step on how you make a bread? People are not buying the bread or taking it from already, in the bag, but they are really doing the bread for real before toasting it. I've seen people putting not butter and marmalade, but I've seen people putting, I don't know, tomato, ham, or other stuff. So I've seen pretty much a wide diversity of this kind of drawings. And what we see pretty much all the time is that when you look at the drawings, you see nodes, because I've told you, you have to make it in maximum 6 steps. So you see that the drawing you've made, some of you put the numbers, some others not, but you have these different steps. And then sometimes you make it or not, but you put some arrows between the steps. These are the links between these nodes. When you put nodes and links together, it's a systems model. So what you've been doing by describing how to make a toast is nothing less than a system model of a process. And again, the understanding can be the same, the understanding can be different. But you see that from the because making a toast should be something easy. But you see that even if it's easy, your understanding of it is not exactly the same between you guys, right? There are some differences in how you consider all the steps to make a toast. I've asked you to make the toast by drawing on the paper, okay? I could ask you to make the toast with sticky notes. If each of you had sticky notes, if we were in a room, for example, I could ask you to make it in sticky notes. And then I could ask you to sit together as a team in a group of like 4 or 5 people and try to build together from your individual understanding of what are the 6 steps to make a toast, how you would do it as, a common process. I have a short video to show you. It's like 2 minutes. It's Artem Buchek, the guy who invented this technology or like this methodology, is talking about that. Imagine if you would be doing this with a group. So let me put it. Tell me if the sound is
though
working.
we may not be skilled at drawing, the point is that we intuitively know how to break down complex things into simple things and then bring them back together again. So this brings us to our second part of the exercise, which is how to make toast, but now with sticky notes or with cards. So what happens then? Well, with cards, most people tend to draw clearer, more detailed, and more logical notes. You can see the step-by-step analysis that takes place. And as they build up their model, they move their nodes around, kind of rearranging them like Lego blocks. Now, though this might seem trivial, it's actually really important. This rapid iteration of expressing and then reflecting and analyzing is really the only way in which we get clarity. It's the essence of the design process. And system theorists do tell us that the ease with which we can change a representation correlates to our willingness to improve the model. So sticky note systems are not only more fluid, they generally produce way more nodes than static drawings. The drawings are much richer. And this brings us to our third part of the exercise, which is to draw how to make toast, but this time in a group. So what happens then? Well, here's what happens. It starts out messy, and then it gets really messy, and then it gets messier. But as people refine the models, the best nodes become more prominent, and with each iteration, the model becomes clearer, and because people build on top of each other's ideas. What emerges is a unified systems model that integrates the diversity of everyone's individual points of view. And so that's a really different outcome from what usually happens in meetings, isn't it? So these drawings can contain 20 or more nodes, but participants don't feel map shock because they participate in the building of their models themselves.
Okay, so he explains a little bit how you do this, in your organization. And of course, I want you to translate this making it with Toast, which is like a very basic process that we all understand, to like, how do you apply the same methodology when you think about a process in the company or about the solution to a problem? What is very interesting, and he was saying it in the video, is you use the collective intelligence, because as the understanding of each individual is a little bit different than others, when you bring this together, you really get the richness of all the point of views. What's also very interesting is the fact of drawing, because most of the time, and I was telling you this already when we were discussing about the crazy 8 ideation, right? Drawing, we believe that this is for children, that this is not for adults, that we are too serious in organizations to make drawings. But when you made this exercise of drawing Toast, you see how when you have to draw something, you come to the essence of it. You have to simplify it as much as possible so that with your limited talent in drawing, you manage to, kind of transmit the idea, what you want to say. So drawing, it's also very powerful to simplify things. I'm showing you here an example on how you can use Toast, for example, to map a user journey. Because by doing the drawings, and of course you can put some titles of the different steps, but with titles, you don't manage to visualize, to understand, to make other people understand what are these steps. When you show it with drawings, it's much, much powerful, okay? And also, it's a great way to align between individuals, between different visions and understanding we have of the same process, of the same solution, of the same product or service. Okay, so this leads me into the topic of prototyping. Okay, we've fallen in love with the problem. We've made the how might we, we've ideated on solutions. Perhaps you've chosen one solution, which is the best one. And the point now is, how do you take that so that you can learn? Because prototyping is about learning, yeah? So why do we prototype? What are the advantages we have to prototype? First is that it enables you to test with users, because when the user has something in his hands, he will give you comments, feedback. So you will be able to refine your solution, because by showing something palpable, the person will realize, will put himself more into the world of using that solution. Could be something physical. If it's a process, it's a process, I'm not just talking about physical prototypes. It can help you to explore, because the fact that you have to build something, that you have to build a prototype, and of course the images here, they are about physical products, but the fact that you have to do it, it gives you hints and insights about the solution itself. You see here, it's an example of how you design a plate where you can have, you don't have a table, but you can have it in your hand and you can still heat. So how do you divide two things, like a liquid and a solid? And, and you see many different prototypes. Of course, the final here is probably the final solution they got, but they've tested with many different stuff, and stuff that they were available for them in-house, just trying to stick them together, perhaps with, with something to stimulate what it could be. Because by doing this, they were exploring and understanding what's right, what's wrong what's practical, what's not. The third element of prototyping is that it helps you to empathize with your user. Because when you put the things in the hands of a user, when you show something to the user, you open also a discussion. And when you open a discussion with your user while you are still in the design space, but your product or your service is not ready, is not the final solution, you create empathy. You make questions. You listen more to the person. Because perhaps you are not so yet attached to your solution. Because the more time you invest, the more attached you are with what you've developed. When it's very basic, you are less attached in the beginning. And then the last element here is to communicate. Because when you have something, a prototype, something to show, you can share your vision. You can make your storytelling. You can get better alignment also inside the organization, not just with your user, with your client, with your customer. So it avoids miscommunication because people can visualize better. What do you mean? It's much stronger than words. You can prototype pretty much anything, okay? It can be a product concept with step-by-step. It can be technical feasibility. It can be a product feature, just one feature. It can be a user flow like we've been doing with Toast. What is important is for you to identify something you want to learn, okay? Because the prototypes you will build is to answer a given question, something you want to learn about your solution, some hypothesis you have, and you want to discover more about it. And then you do a prototype to validate that. So we say now, we have to select the focus of a prototype. And to select the focus of the prototype, you have to define your most important open design question. What is the thing you need to clarify? And with this, you can build a prototype. Alberto Savoia is a guy who he talks about prototyping, not even prototyping. He talks about prototyping, which is one step earlier, which is even more basic. And he says, make sure you're building the right it before you build it right. So before investing money to develop something amazing, be sure that this stuff you are developing is the right stuff that people are needing. And he showed this curve. I think it's very interesting. On the horizontal, you have the time. On the vertical, you have the cost. The more time you spend developing stuff, the more cost and resources you are investing. So you don't want to ask the fundamental questions here when you've already developed so much and spent so much money. You want to ask the right question in the beginning. And that's exactly his point. Are we building the right thing? This is the question you have to ask yourself in the beginning. And your prototype should help you define that. Answer to that question. And then when you are sure you are building the right thing, you are solving the right problem, the right human problem, then you can invest money to build the thing right. He wrote a book called The Right It. Very interesting. I recommend it to you. And he said, we have to validate as quickly and cheaply as you can that you are building the right thing before worrying about building it the best you can. And that's the right design open question in the beginning. What do you want to validate with your prototype? What is the question you want to answer? It's funny because sometimes you make interviews and you say to people, yeah, would you buy this? And people say, yeah, of course, seems amazing. You invest, you develop the stuff, you bring it to the market, and it's a fail. Because it costs nothing to the people to tell them they would buy it until you ask them to open their wallets and put money on it, right? So there are a lot of failures that happen in innovation because people, when they were interviewed, they said, oh, yes, of course, we would buy it. It's amazing. But then they would not buy it in the real world. So we call skin in the game. Skin in the game is inverting the logic. Instead of saying, if we make it, would you buy it? We say, if you buy it, we'll build it. And that's exactly all these Kickstarters, Vaquinia, all these websites existing where people present you the idea and then say, you're interested, put money on it. And when we reach $200,000, then we start developing it and you will receive it. You will be the first ones to get it. You see how they inverted the logic? People have to put the money first, because then if people are ready to put the money, it means that they are really interested. They really want that stuff. You are really touching a human need. You are really solving a job to be done. Okay? I will give you here a little video of an example of people who had really this thing about how do we prototype? How do we validate if really people would buy it?
Okay.
Are these from here?
Yeah, they're on the rack over there.
Oh.
No.
Sorry about that. So they
Oh, no
said
worries.
that this is an IKEA, so you can just. I
Oh.
think somebody just left them. So
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So you just have to pay for that.
Huh, there's a whole stack of them back there, though.
Really?
Free wall hub day at IKEA.
Right.
How'd you get that? By the way?
Just online, eBay.
Oh yeah, this.
Get anything online.
This is actually. I don't know. I used to like that one better though, but.
Yeah, it's cleaner.
This,
No, I mean clean like it's like no.
Okay, did you understand what the guy did? So he bought a shirt from IKEA to pass himself as an employee. He brought his prototype inside the IKEA. He put it on shelves just to see if people would pick it up. I'm not recommending you to do that, okay? I don't know if someone is from IKEA here. I don't want to create any problem. But they really took this like, okay, let's bring it to the world and let's see if people would be interested by our solution. Okay, in the book of Alberto Savoia, he talks about the second-day sushi. Would people buy second-day sushi, yes or no? If we make it half the price, would they buy it? They put it in a restaurant, you know, in the buffet where you are choosing food. They just put it there just to see if people would take it. Make a real experiment. In the Hyper Island in company, you know, workshops and trainings we're doing, we've done that also. Here in Brazil, people had to, you know, make a prototype, just writing on a flip chart their ideas. And they said, okay, it's a free test. Put your post-it here. Would you agree? Leave your comments. Or they would have to make a very short TikTok video in 30 seconds of their idea to show it, to send it to in WhatsApp to some people they know, just to get some feedback. We've put some other stuff where now, you know, with AI, you can prototype like what would an app on the cell phone look like? And you can do it very quickly. So groups were presenting their prototypes. Or here on the buffet, they left on the buffet, they left an option of like what would be a product to see if people would open the box, be interested, take the leaflet. Okay, so just summarizing here, the idea of prototyping or prototyping is really making a manifestation of your solution, something that people can see, and that you can put it outside of your sprint context and show it to someone. So it could be a storyboard like we've done with the toast, okay? Could make a storyboard, the steps of your solution. It could be a mock-up. It could be something made with AI, with the different, screens of an app. It could be a template of a process, but something you could show to someone. Or a 5-minute pitch and presentation that could come along that you could explain what's the thing. Okay? Why is it important? Because it's forcing you to go to the outside world, to go for alignment, to go for understanding, Are people understanding the features of the solution? Are people interesting? Getting feedback from stakeholders, client, customers who are not in the sprint with you. We are not together in your team developing the stuff, okay? And it's really a way to probe on the thing that you are not sure about. This is the way to get feedback before it gets too serious, before you invest too much money. So based on this, I would like you to go into pairs or perhaps a trio in breakouts and discuss with the other person. What is, when you think about the problem you had and the solution you've ideated on in the last session, what is one thing that you need to learn from your users? What would be one critical question that you would need to solve? And how you could bring this as a prototype in the hands of some real user? What do you imagine that could be a prototype? And discuss it together to see what ideas you are coming with. Okay? Do you have questions before we go into breakouts about this prototyping concept? No? It's good?
I have one question.
Yes.
So we need to discuss what is the one thing you need to learn from users in our own problem from the Miro board? Or
Yes.
Okay.
From the problem you had and the solution you've ideated last time, how would you prototype that? What do you need to check with this user like that's not 100% sure and you want to discover? And how you would prototype that? Would you make a storyboard? You made a little template? Like, how would you do that? Okay? So 10 minutes in breakout for you to discuss this in pairs or trio.
All right. Then I will open all the rooms.
Let's go. Oh, it's exactly pairs. That's amazing. Yay. Nice, everybody's back. So let us know, what were the discussions about? Have you found some ideas of prototypes of what you would be testing? Was it hard? Was it easy? Want to hear a bit your reflections. Mateus.
For me and Maria, it was really, really hard. Like we shared our challenges and we could not come up with prototyping ideas. Both of our challenges are really technical and involves a lot of technology. And we suffer to how can I say, split little deliveries. So we could prototype a small part of it, no good. To prototype the whole solution, kind of impossible. So it was 15 minutes of getting stuck.
That's not easy. That's not easy because we are not used first to cut things into pieces. Because again, we are so in love with our solutions that's tough. And also we are not used to show things that are not perfect. We have been created and trained in organizations for perfection. For like, okay, I will show this to someone only when it's like 100%. If it's not 100%, perhaps the person will think I'm not professional or I'm not good enough. So there is also very strong biases in the way we've been trained, by the society, by the organizations, to that our brain does not accept the concept of making something basic on paper and showing it. We see it because we make a lot of trainings on prototyping and design thinking in companies, and we see this. It's costing a lot of effort to search for what we could prototype and how we could prototype it. So I completely understand the challenge. But let's use the collective intelligence here. Give an example. Explain in one sentence what is your solution, Mateus? And I would like to ask the room here to think about how we could prototype that. You managed to explain in one sentence what is the thing about?
No, in one sentence,
okay.
No.
So that's the next challenge. That's the next challenge of how do you manage to work on your solution to be able to explain it simply to a 7-year-old. This is also very hard, but this is helping, because when we manage to work on our solution or product or service, and we put it in a nutshell so that we make it easy, even if it's with a metaphor or something, it's also helping to explain to others, because sometimes your stakeholders in organization, they are not so technical as you. So they don't understand the thing just like earth engineers or whatever. So it can be very useful also how you get the buy-in of other people. It can be super useful to work on how you make it very, very simple. Okay. What else, guys? Reflections about your discussions in rooms. Who got an idea of a prototype?
Here we just spend time thinking about what we want to learn. So me and Simone, she explained that Peugeot as a brand has a reputation problem, and what can we do to make it better, to improve this experience, this brand image and everything. And we thought about a second chance campaign or test drive for people to retry it. And this was the solution. But our main problem was I was thinking with her, what makes people give Peugeot another chance? So we were kind of stuck in this.
Now that's a very good point, because when you ask the right question, then it brings you to is my solution the right one? I heard the word test drive when I was taking my headset away. Is because the person will test the brand again that they will change their mind? Is it enough for them to change their mind? So that's very good, because this process of asking the right question, what do we want to discover? Then you can think of different prototypes. And sometimes it's not just one prototype. Sometimes it's different prototypes to test different questions that you want to answer, and to design afterwards the right solution. Yeah, very good. What else? The other groups. Storyboards, process mapping, presentation. Kareli, tell me.
I was thinking about the Josipa's problem, because she has I don't know, Josipa, if you want to talk about it, but she has a big problem to solve and to innovate. And we were, trying to understand how can you get a lot of information, because she has a lot of insights. She have a lot of information from, I think, her sales department or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't
But
say it's
it's
a big problem.
difficult.
I just can't replicate the exercise to it, and it's been like that also in the past weeks because I have been thinking for a concrete challenge. I would say not a problem, but challenge at work is how to better address a specific target audience. As you know, I work in finance. We're selling mutual funds, investment funds. And I wanted to understand more how to better address a more sophisticated wholesale client segment because I'm supposed to promote our funds to the target audience, and I think that we're not reaching them in a very efficient manner. So we've been already working on that project to get insights from the stakeholders internally, to have a clear idea of how they operate for each market, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, but for me, most importantly, is to understand what they're exposed to, how do they spend their free time, what do they read, what kind of content do they consume, because this is where I need to position our promotional initiatives. And now, to be honest, with this prototype exercise, I have no idea how to replicate that because I feel like we're prototyping a new product to something that it's a bit more abstract and different.
Yeah. So perhaps
maybe. I mean, when it comes to, have you talked to the actual customers? Is that the actual users that you've talked to?
Sorry, I can't hear you anymore.
Have you talked to the actual users?
I can't hear anything anymore.
Okay. Because we can hear and can you all hear
I can't hear anything.
Okay.
Sorry, Josipa. Yeah, it seems to be with you.
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, you can hear? Okay.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Go again,
So, have you talked to the actual users and customers?
No, because they're very hard to reach. That's the point. They're so everyone wants to talk to them. Everyone wants to reach to them. So my contact point is our sales teams that have contact. They're like wholesale distribution in finance is meaning like, for example, someone that's gonna how to explain this to you if you're not from the business. It's someone that's gonna design a distribution more top down for certain funds. They're gonna be like they're fund selectors in big companies. They're gonna decide what funds are gonna be distributed across their platforms, and everyone wants to reach them. Everyone wants to get to them, and they're not very easy to reach. I mean, they are if you have contacts. We have sales that have relationships with them.
Yeah,
they talk to them. Okay, but I'm not a salesperson. I'm not supposed to contact them directly. I'm supposed to do marketing and promotion and communication towards them.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just opt automatically for the media that we think that are more
that will
tailored
influence
for
them.
but I'm not sure if it's easy as that. Probably not. So we're trying to see also the bigger picture. Do we have an adequate products? The pricing of our products. It's larger than just marketing and promotion. Like how can we address them better and do business better with them?
And when you talk to the ones that you already have convinced, not the ones you're not reaching, the ones you've already reached, have you reached out and talked to them?
How do I talk to someone? I'm doing it. It's like asking.
Yeah,
I don't have a link with them. I don't have any
that's
connection
really
with
the
them.
point. That as an organization, if you keep taking decisions without reaching to your final customer, you will never be sure that you are taking the right decision. So I know they are super hard to reach. I mean, we've worked already with some organization where it's super hard to reach, but by sales teams having good relationships, even if you talk with 3 people.
But that's what we're doing now. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We are having these workshops with our sales teams that have relationships with them, that have more insights into who they are, how they function, what could potentially work better with them. So this is at the stage that we are gaining all this information on the actual target audience to understand them better.
But I think that's the point. For you, it's very hard to prototype now because you are still in the problem phase, and that's all fine. I mean, depending on the challenge you have, I mean, the time you spend in the problem phase, it can be months, So it's you should not be worried. that you are not managing yet to transform this into a prototype because you are still so much in the dark. You remember the little drawing we've made that in the beginning of the process, it's all messy. And then it starts to become a little bit clearer when you advance. It's just the same. You are still in the messy phase. But that's fine, because if you spend more time and if you go deeper and you make these workshops, you will get more information, you will get more insights, and you will come nearer to a solution that could really be relevant for your customers, you know? So, I mean, it's all
That's
fine.
the idea, yeah.
Perhaps you send a message in Slack in like 3 or 4 months from now, say, guys, now I have it. I have clarity, and now I can think about some potential prototypes. But that's a process. That's a process. And each of you are at a different step. You know, we try to show in the 4 weeks all the steps, but depending on the complexity, you are at one point or another, you know? So that's something to be, you know, you have to come back to it when the moment comes, so that you can use the tools and reflection. And you can always send messages, you know, when come the moment, if you want to drop a message to me, Anders, or what, we are always available. So feel free about that. Okay.
Oh, that's
I
very
mean, I
nice.
wouldn't
Thanks.
say always
Appreciate it.
available, but we are out on the internet. You can find us, so we will talk to you.
We are on different time zones, okay? So 24 hours available. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Guys, let's make a break. It's 45. Let's take like 7 minutes. Yeah. So we come back at 52 so that you can spread your legs.
Is that enough for you
take a
today?
coffee.
Because I know that I've been very, very short with the breaks before. Is 7 minutes enough for you?
Is okay?
Yeah, we'll do our best. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
see you soon. Keep here and
See
then
you.
just close camera and mic. Hello, hello. So for he's back.
Slowly come back. I think it's not quite at the 7-minute mark yet.
I have a question when you're ready to answer about prototyping.
Go for it.
I was just curious about your thoughts on how many people are enough to get useful feedback on a prototype. For example, I work in a small team at TV2 Denmark where we do digital journalism that engages users, and it's hard for us to figure out when the users will be engaged and how we do it best. So we do different experiments right now to find out what's the best users. Will they write their own opinions in articles? Will they do votes? What is the best way to engage them? We always prototype our ideas and test them. But how many people would you say that's good to work with when you test prototyping?
It depends a little bit on the complexity of the prototype. So I don't want to be boring and say it depends, but that's really the reality of it. So when it comes to prototypes, I always like to emphasize the fact that you don't want to hide the difficult part you're trying to solve. So if you're dealing with quite a complex problem, and for whatever reason you have come up with a solution that is a levitating table, you don't want to prove the table. You want to prove how levitation solves this problem and how you actually are going to do the levitation part. So the prototype should always be focusing on what's the most difficult step to overcome. And if you show a good way of overcoming that, it really depends. Are you presenting internally right now? Then you sometimes just need to convince the boss that is sitting with the money. And then it's one person that needs to be convinced, you know? But when we're gathering feedback from users, then we're probably looking at a larger cohort. But how large of a cohort can depend on a lot. I want to say, when I conduct these sprints in person, I like to say at least 3 people. It's better if it's 10. It's great if it's 100, but then, you know, things starts to scale pretty quickly. And if I'm doing online testing on a website, then I have a lot of users I can potentially reach. I used to work within media. So there we would have this internal rule where we would give a team of 3 people 3,000 euros to reach 3,000 people. So that would mean that that's how we kind of scale that, and we had 30 days to reach those 3,000 users. Make sense? So that's when we bring it to the kind of scaling part of it. But when it all depends what the next step is. Sometimes it's just, really, really small.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sabrina, did you have any guidelines there? That was very much based on my own experience.
I agree with you. And sometimes people are so, you said you were already prototyping in your company, but I see a lot of teams who are kind of completely frozen about the fact of showing a prototype to someone. And I said, okay, it's better to be 3 or 5 people than no one. So as a first step, as building an habit of prototyping within an organization, I think that, there are some studies that shown that if you ask to 5 or to 15 for feedback on something, you would most of the time pretty much get to the same insights. Showing it to 15 instead of 5, it's not making an incremental value of insights, which is so huge that sometimes it's worth spending more time or more money. So we say that the 5 first feedback are the most essential ones, because this is what gets you like 80% of the value of the feedback and the insights you get.
Yeah. And another aspect that often comes up when I work within leadership teams and this way of working and operating within complex spaces where often people want to have a perfect solution in front of them. I talk a lot about most organizations that have really quick learning cultures. They make some kind of guidance internally around that they will make decisions based on only knowing 70% of the right answer, and then still being able to function and make decisions. But to try and do that in reversible ways. So if you think of, super large organization in this case, but Amazon, they operate at this at a full scale, even when they make really, really big business decisions, they try and make it so that they are going for velocity so that they can learn a lot from moving fast and trying things out. But at the same time, they make sure that most of the experiments that they do, even when they are large scale and we're talking they might cost hundreds of millions of dollars, they make sure that they are reversible. It's a two-way door decision. It's not a one-way door decision. Because the more we talk about one-way door decisions, where we're putting all our eggs in one basket, that's when we need the perfect plan in place and the really, really good guardrails. Because then we need to make sure it's no longer just about safe to fail, it's about safe from fail. But that reframing of can we walk back from this? That's super important for leaders to recognize, okay, it's an experiment. We try it out, we try and learn from it. That's progress. Even if it fails, we learned something. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. I think what we often end out with is that I think there was Sabrina that talks about having the hard questions late in the process. So we often prototype, we often refine and makes it very good. And then late in the process, we have the hard questions. Is we solving any problem? Will users use this at our website and stuff like that? So I think it's a combination of we need to ask these questions earlier, and we also need to hold test our prototypes and find out which part of the prototype we need to hold test.
Yeah.
And
it's exactly that stuff of we think that when we stay in the problem space, we are losing our time. We want to jump to solutions, and that's human. We see this in almost every organization.
Yeah, also because we work with short deadlines, it can be okay, we have a big news coming up, a big agenda we need to cover, and we need to have a product in a few days and a week. So we just move forward. Yeah.
But I to the point Sabrina was making earlier around that AI has actually been one of those things that have changed the way that I go about prototyping. That's something I often bring into design sprints at this point, that you show them a tool like Lovable or Claude Code to show how quickly you can have a rough prototype up and working is a very, very different from the way I was previously much more keen on, like, no, but just build it on paper, or just put something together with Post-its, or make a little film with your mobile phone where you're showing, what it will look like once you've solved it. Now it's much more like, okay, let's see how far we get by giving you 1 hour to build something in Lovable, and people build crazy things.
Yeah, we just start using that in our team as well, Lovable and Claude. So
yeah,
it's very helpful. We just need to think about the whole testing afterwards, I think.
Yes. Especially in the beginning, it's easy to get caught up in the momentum of it all. But then later you need to have a serious discussion around, okay, so how do we validate? How do we maintain the code, and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that was thank you, Camilla, for coming off and asking about that. I think I love that we got to talk about that, and so good that you shared the image, Sabrina, in chat as well, so people can walk away with the one-way versus two-way door decision framework. Okay, so I am actually gonna be doing a little bit of a recap here, and this is just a bit of a walk down memory lane of sorts, as we are officially in the last hour on the last live session in the last week of this course. And if we go back to the very beginning, we actually wanted you to activate very, very early on. And similar to how we today started talking about prototypes, you kind of started out just having a exploratory discussion in groups where we did this assignment around innovation mashup. So if you remember, Sabrina, we had put this human needs, data points, and technology on the Miro board. And in groups, you got to kind of just get some numbers assigned to you and try and come up with a mashup idea that combined one human need, one data point, and one technology. And for some, it was easier than for others, but all of you managed to come up with some interesting, I will at least, say that, interesting ideas. And we started already then to talk about exactly what we are now starting to close down the course with, which is this concept of minimum learnable prototypes. What's the smallest next step we can take that can help us learn as much about our users or about our solution as possible? That was the goal already when we were doing this mashup exercise in the very beginning, and now we're kind of back at that point. And this was exactly the illustration that I think Sabrina was referring to earlier, the fact that when we are in the problem space, when we're researching, when we're uncertain, we're not sure about what pattern is emerging because we are dealing with a complex, sometimes systemic problem, it takes a while before we start landing on how might we, a concept, and some ideas that might give us the clarity and focus needed to design what our next right solution is going to look like. And design thinking is a process where we try and sense make this a little bit, where we give structure to the messy parts. So we put humans in the center, we create a social process. This is not something that we encourage that you go out and do on your own. I very much believe that the best results you will get from design thinking is by involving in lots of different perspectives. And that's why we said super early on when we talked about the problem space that a qualifier for finding the right type of problem is to ask, are people disagreeing about the solution? Great. That's a good sign that they don't agree around the problem that we're actually trying to solve. So by looking at this process and splitting it up, whether we're using this early version or earlier version from Stanford D School or the Double Diamond, we look towards empathizing, talking to actual users, falling in love with the problem, immersing from the perspective of our customers, not passing on judgment, and then defining whether that's personas, how might we questions, customer pain points or needs. We try and hone in on what part of the problem is worth ideating around. And then we switch over to that point of true divergence, of hopefully not having already defined a solution in the beginning and then try to define a problem that fits with that solution, but instead actually going through the steps, spending the time with the problem, that we do get the option of coming up with different types of solutions that we can prioritize around, that we can then move over to prototyping, that we can learn from. Mock-ups, trying to keep it simple, but looking actually to fail fast if that means learning more quickly, so that we can go on and do the next iteration super quickly as well. And that's the testing as well. It's all about understanding what are the parts that aren't working, what are the parts that are working, so that we can iterate until we find something that hopefully is scalable, is working, and is making progress so that we can move from the unpredictability of being in a complex space into what is a bit more predictable by maybe still being complicated, but at least it is becoming more predictable. There's more of a cause and effect relationship when we have prototyped and started to find the right solution. And Double Diamond was a different way of illustrating this, where we also capture that we have these different parts that we need to go through. A part where we are expanding on the problem space before choosing what to define and include in the solutions we want to test. And then when we go into ideating, we expand again, and then we try and narrow down and decide upon what solution innovation we want to prototype, scale up, bring into the hands of real customers if we'll only been running tests within a focus group or within people on the street or internally. And we try to kind of bring in the lens as well of how do we do this at a systemic level, where we look at innovation culture within organizations by talking about, okay, we have the visible parts, but we have the less visible and even invisible parts. And I talked, both me and Tim have talked about this before, so I'm not going to talk too much about it now, because I don't want to spend too much time on this recap. I want you to be able to do your own. But we did talk about jobs to be done, about moving between needs and solutions. People encounter situations that drive the need for a job. They hire a solution to get that job done. And we had you do interviews with each other, but also asked you to go out and leave the sessions and actually talk to real users. The goal is to keep conversations going. So remember, open-ended questions. And if you even dug into our participant folders, you would find interview guides that will go even further into how do you actually do that? How do you conduct interviews with users? And we have lots of great tips in here, including some questions that you can use to start having those conversations. And we talked about this difference between the functional, emotional, and social job, that a good solution hopefully manages to do all of these three factors. People will weigh off the different solutions. The users will weigh off the available solutions using these. So if we can combine the three, then we have a pretty good understanding of what are the needs behind that is driving why people are choosing one product over another. And we actually had you to practice this a little bit as well. Here's the designer's secret, as I like to call it, the separation between different ways of thinking, and that it requires energy to switch between creating choices and making choices, but it also requires us to tap into a different way of operating. When we're in divergent phase, we want to tap into the autopilot of just coming up with as much as possible, quantity over quality, before we switch over to the qualitative space, the convergent phase, where we're making choices, where we're narrowing down, and we bring in decision making, and we try and add on some kind of heuristics. Is this too crazy? Is it feasible? Is it viable? And we can use methods for doing that as well. Sometimes we might need to do a bunch of prototypes or launch several experiments in parallel to be able to make those choices. And we talked about Eileen a couple of different times, but specifically I liked when we brought it all the way to the how might we question as that middle point in the double diamond, where we want to enable us to switch over from I have understood the problem in such a simple way that I can summarize it, if not in a sentence, at least in a paragraph. And I can frame that using how might we, so that it's not just looking at one specific solution using a noun, but actually incorporating what's the underlying need that I've identified that can help me then come up with a bunch of different solutions. Because by naming the need and not the solution as part of how I'm describing the problem, it allows us to try and ideate and brainstorm different solutions. And we tapped into the creative mindset, the 6 C's: curiosity, community, courage, commitment, concentration, and craft. And Sabrina gave you a glimpse of what are some of the things that we cover on some of our other courses on creative thinking, actually. And we did this Crazy 8 exercise that I thought was a lot of fun, of giving you little prompts, asking you to come up with ideas using specific creative constraints, both in terms of time and in terms of space, and in terms of, try and follow this instruction from the prompt. Whether it's just doing a brain dump of your most obvious ideas, or if you had unlimited resources, or if you didn't have any tech at all. It can be really, really good. And as Sabrina and I talked about in that session, remember sometimes that what you think might be the worst idea might be something that someone else perceives as one of the best. Because if we allow ourselves to build on top of each other, we can come up with more. And that's the goal while ideating. We also gave you some prompts to use for how you can do this together with AI. And as much as there are limitations to it, it can help us get a little bit unstuck those times where we don't know what to start with. There's nothing scarier than all the options in the universe that exist within a blank canvas, right? So by prompting an AI, sometimes that can be a great starting point for getting over that point of all the opportunities and just seeing a selection of some opportunities. So here we asked, you could use these different prompts to generate at least 25 ideas or cross-industry inspiration. And then by prompting your way through, you can start to converge and land on what are some of the actual relevant things here that could be interesting for you to use. And today, you got into prototyping a little bit, mapping out a process and a system on how to make toast. So that's my summary. And before I even give you this instruction, I want you to spend the next 3 minutes summarizing for yourself, what have you done on this course? And I don't mean, what have you seen us share on Slack or in these live sessions? What have you done on this course? What do you remember? How did you engage with the homework? What conversations have you had? Has there been any tool that you brought with you? Is there some tool you want to bring with you into a new conversation? Make sure you capture that in these coming minutes. Then I'm going to give you the next instruction. So this first part is just to remind yourself of what we have gotten in touch with. What have we done? And what are some of the things that you have explored and some of the things you have experienced? The second part is that you make more of a plan. So what tangible things would you want to bring with you from this course and try back in your reality, whether that's at work or in life? I want you to write down a plan for yourself where you try your best at answering some of these questions around what are you going to do now? Who do you need to talk to? What do you hope to achieve? How would you know if you have achieved it? And what does your plan for this look like? And I'll give you 5 minutes to start working on that plan. Then I'm going to give you a little bit more input, and then you will have more time, not a lot, but a little bit more time to work on your plan. But we're pacing things out here so that you can remind yourself and now start to switch over to planning. Okay, 5 minutes on the clock. to about 1 more minute of working on your plan for now. Then you will have a little bit more time. I want you to get to a point where you have a starting version of your plan, not the final version. Okay. The build that I will give you now is not something that I bring in because I wanted to limit the plan that you have started working on. But it is something that I find when I do this with leadership teams, it's very important to remind everyone that there are limitations to how far our influence actually reaches. So as you're making your plan, I want you to be reminded of this concept called COVID circles. I don't know if there are people on this call that are familiar with this concept of COVID circles. Sabrina, you're not allowed to say yes because I know you know. But amongst the rest of you, is there someone that recognizes this illustration of control, influence, and concern? Yeah, Camilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are in a big company, TV2 Denmark, so we often use that one to talk about what can we do and where does our influence not go to, because we are big. I think you called it a ship in an earlier session. We have a lot of tank ship, so we can't. Our influence is limited.
Exactly. And I have more words to put to it so that anyone that isn't familiar with it can get a grip of what it's about. Essentially, COVID circles, which is coming from a book called, I think 6 or 7 habits of highly successful people. Now I don't remember how many habits, but this is one of them. COVID talks about the circle of control, meaning the things that you have direct control over, your own actions and decisions. We also have the circle of influence, the things that we have some kind of control over as a collective. This is something you can influence because of your relationships with others and the processes that you are contributing to as a collective. But there are a lot of things that are of our concern. So all the stuff that we care about and that we might feel like we need to care about, but if we don't have a lot of direct influence over it, then maybe it shouldn't be part of what we are planning to do next. The reason for why I'm saying that is because when you are fighting against the forces of things that are of our concern but not under our influence, it will often put us in a very reactive state where things happen and we react to them. And I want you to try and plan for some things that you actually can take control over and influence. Because it will be much easier for you to see real progress on the problems you're trying to solve for by planning for that. There's a philosophical way of putting it that my boss sometimes likes to use, because this is not a tool that is exclusive for design thinking. This is something we bring into many contexts. But he likes to say, control is what I do, influence is what we do, concern is what God does. And his way of putting it like that is not about being a believing man, because I know he's an atheist, but it's more about the fact that there are so many things that aren't under our control or influence that we do care an awful lot about. But if we only do that, then, we might as well let fate control our lives completely. And that's not really the goal of self-awareness, right? And we are self-aware creatures. So let's try and use that awareness to put a spotlight on what can we influence. So with that input, I want you to refocus your energy in your plan on things under your circle of control and influence. And you can keep working on your plan for another 5 minutes. And even though it looks like most of you are still working on your plans, I will have to be a little bit strict with the time that we have allotted for each part. So I will now ask you to share your plan, even if it's in a state of that you're still working on it, of translating it. I want you to practice by sharing this first prototype of a plan with someone else. And the way we will do this is, of course, by putting you into breakout rooms. And in the last one, we did have some people that we needed to kind of move around a little bit. So if it is messy for a little bit in the beginning, don't worry. After about a minute or so, we should have it all figured out. You will be in new rooms than the ones that we created before. Not least since we had Matthias have to leave us now for a meeting he couldn't cancel. So get ready to share your plan while your peer in the room listens. After you have shared, and I would really encourage you to be quite quick with sharing your plan. Maybe don't take more than 2-3 minutes to walk them through it. The listener gets some time to provide feedback and comments. And then, as the presenter hears this feedback, they update their plan. And then you switch so that both of you get a chance to listen and to share. Make sense?
We have an uneven number. Yeah. We have pairs,
Yes.
but we have one trio. Okay.
Exactly. So I prepared one room with a trio where you will have a little bit less time per person, but I will send you out for 12 minutes. So it should be quite easy to still manage to do this within the allocated time. Any questions on what it is that you're asked to do in the breakouts? If not, I will open the rooms now and then try and do your best with sharing your plans and providing feedback. Let's go.
Now we go again.
Right, welcome back everyone. I hope you enjoyed and made the most out of this last breakout that we have had on the live session. We are wrapping up, and the first thing that I need you to do is to sit up a little bit more straight in your chair and to take out one of your hands and stretch it up in the air, and then take it behind your back, and then you give yourself a good tap on the back for actually managing to go through all of these live sessions. Thank you for showing up. And as I have mentioned before, we very much recommend you to use the Hyper Island Toolbox. So it's free to use. Yes, you need to share a little bit of information, but we already have your information since you've joined this course. So that shouldn't be too big of a hurdle to get over at this point. But here you can, when you are running and bringing these two other groups of people, you can always find inspiration, whether it's for innovation, for creativity, or if you want to do more like an energizer as part of putting a workshop together. There's great inspiration in here, besides the things that we put into the folders. So that's, of course, the other part, the design thinking methods. If you haven't yet explored all of the different things that are in here, this is really where the goal is. And yeah, you can go out and you can find other materials and you can find other guides online as well for how to do this, or even prompt an AI to try and be a co-facilitator next to you in designing a design thinking process and workshop. It can work wonders for that as well. I do that sometimes when I go and do design sprints with clients, but I keep coming back to certain tools which is why we have put a lot of them into these folders. And I actually have even here more of a curated list, both from the toolbox on the HyperIsland website and from the folders that I really enjoy and that I keep coming back to and that I often bring into client settings. At HyperIsland, we always talk about experiential learning. We do check-ins and checkouts. We talk about content and process model, this walnut model, the what and the how. We have a great energizer called Portrait Gallery, good icebreaker. We talk about design thinking, the double diamond. Hot air balloon is one that you didn't get to do here, but that I find is great for doing a sense making in an internal organization where there are already people sitting with a lot of knowledge around things, and so on and so forth. These are links. So when you get the slide deck, if there's some that piques your curiosity, take a chance to click through and see the instructions for how to run that with a team. Also, since these are now the last couple of minutes we have together, I have a little bit of housekeeping to do. Slack is going to stay open for about 1 more week. And you're probably wondering, how will I stay connected with all of these wonderful people that I have met on this course? Me and Sabrina and Tim, we will share our LinkedIn profiles, and I would encourage you to do the same so that we can connect once the Slack space is no longer available to us. Yusipa, if you want to, let us know in a few months how you have gotten further, or if you want to, contact me or Sabrina or Tim in 2 weeks saying, I don't know how to make progress on this right now, feel free to reach out and we will do our best to try and support you. That goes for all of you, obviously. The slide deck will, yeah, of course. The slide deck will be uploaded. And I already encourage you to check out the HyperIsland toolbox. There are other courses we can recommend. Facilitation course is one that happens on site. Leadership Advanced, if you want to go more into the leadership space. Sabrina and I, we talked about the creative thinking course before. And if you want to use more of like a future lens to inspire your innovation, we also have futures and foresight courses. But this is the point where I have had you do a lot of feedbacks with one another. And now I need to encourage you to give us feedback. So you can either use your phone to scan the code, or we will give you a little link in the chat that you can use to give us a little bit of feedback. That should be the right link in there.
Are we going to, Anders, are we going to maintain our access to the Miro board? Or
we're not taking the Miro board away, no. But
okay.
If there's something that you want to save from there, I would make sure that you export that, because sometime in the future, we might clean it up a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
And then I saw there was the question in the chat of the accessing the toolbox. It asks for login credentials. Yeah, you need to make sure you have an email address registered, and then you can access the system.
But it asks you for a password.
Yeah, so the first time that you sign up, you pick a
create an
password.
account?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a very long survey, so I will just give you a few minutes to fill that out already now. That way, neither me nor marketing from HyperIsland will have to hunt you down asking for your feedback later. And for those that have finished filling in the survey, I will ask you to join me in the last checkout on the course. So now that you have your plan, you've tried it out, at least in theory, by explaining it to someone else, and you've gotten some perspectives back. What is going to be your first next step of putting your learnings into action? Put that into chat, or if you prefer, come off mute and let us know.
Everyone is very shy, I can see. Or what's
I'm
happening?
starting to see some examples in chat, Josipa, but please go ahead if
Really?
you have a first
I
next
don't
step.
see anything. Ah, I didn't see that.
Go, Josipa, please.
Well, I will continue with the plan because I'm already in this feedback gathering and research and the exchanges of many different relevant parties for me to gain more insights that can help me then look for specific solutions that I can then test out and build. So I'm already in that process and I'm gonna continue in that direction.
Great. And if you're unsure about, what to do next, at least you will have both me and Sabrina in your same time zone for the time being. Thank you, Josipa.
Maria said summarizing FigJam, and Mariana maybe prototype, a job application agent. Ooh, like it.
Let's see if it works. I'll tell you guys.
That's the idea of the prototype. I mean, you learn by doing also, like the maker mindset. Yeah.
Ida,
Who's next?
Simone, Lorena, Carelli. Awesome. We have here from Simone.
Yes, because during all the course I talking about Peugeot reputations, so I think I can apply it.
Good. Second chance experience. Nice.
Lorena will work on a prototype. Very good. And Josipa says goodbye. Thank you, Josipa. What about you, Ida?
It's very difficult to processing with the plan, but I think I'm gonna focus on. I think these methods that we have learned are very interesting. So especially that iceberg and the invisible things. that are underneath. So I'm going to try to
Mm.
focus a little bit on those and see what can they bring up to the surface in my work from now on. And maybe listen more to the users, because design thinking about the users and how, without them, you can sit here and have a lot of ideas, but without them, it's nothing. So maybe include them from the beginning of the process and help them, help them, figure it out. So it's difficult.
Very good.
Yeah, but I'm going to take one step at a time, I think, and just focus on what's next and what can I use, not every method, but from each one of them, what can I use from this one? And like the most important, like failure is also success. You have to take the learn things and make it usable. What I've learned from this thing, even if it didn't work out the way I want it to be. So what I've learned, and how can I process it and use it to the next one? So that's my thoughts right now.
Super good. And there is literally a walkthrough guide on the Hyper Island Toolbox website if you want to take a group through this exercise of the iceberg model. I find that this one can be good for sense making for oneself, but if you want to take it into facilitating with a group, that one is actually kind of easy. It requires a bit of abstract thinking and metaphor, obviously, but besides that, it's a nice one to bring to a group.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. I think that's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to hearing and connecting with you how things have gone. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
See you,
Thanks a
and
lot.
we'll post on
Thank
Slack
you.
the recording and the deck. See you. Have a good day still. Bye bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Charlotte.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.